Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Push for Life and welcome to another tutorial. Alright, so today we're going to do something a little different. Basically, based on some feedback I've received on my YouTube videos, but also from friends of mine who recently purchased an Ableton Push 2, they wanted me to do a video where I just go right to the very basics for people who don't really know how to use Ableton Push 2 at all. So I thought that was a great idea, so I thought I'd just put this little video together for you. So if you have a decent understanding of how to use your Ableton Push 2, this video probably isn't for you. But if you want to brush up on your basics, I'd love you to go ahead and watch it and make sure to leave a comment below. Alright, let's get right to it. So the first thing I want to say is I'm going to try and show you the top 5 things that I think will really help you, and that includes how to record drums, how to record in the first place and build a loop using tap tempo and the metronome and the record button, but also how to use the melodic and harmonic note view. So if you want to record some keyboards or bass lines or something like that, how to determine your key and choose a nice scale, and also to start roughly mixing your track. So they're the top 5 things we want to take a look at. And we'll start off with how to create your first drum beat. Okay, so let's get right to it. Just in case you're wondering, in my Ableton template that I have set up here, this is my vocal that you're hearing right now. So just ignore that track and ignore this return track because that's basically my headphone mix. So if you open up a new project in your Ableton file, what you should have is just a MIDI template. A MIDI track right here and nothing else. And that way you can sort of copy everything that I'm doing. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is we need to load up a drum kit in order to start recording a drum loop. So if you click on the browse button right here, you can navigate through your files using these buttons. So first of all, I want to decide what instrument or effect or whatever it is I want to use. So I'll scroll down here to drums, and then I'll start using this button right here to scroll through and preview, which is switched on. If it isn't switched on, make sure to hit this button right here, and that way you can start listening to the different sounds. So as I scroll through each of these kits, it's basically playing the same beat but using the sounds from that particular preset. So I'm just going to take the first kit that sounds interesting. Let me just... Okay, I like that. So I'm going to push the load button right here, and now you'll see this changes, and we have these pink 4x4 matrix of pink buttons right here. And this is where your drum sounds live. So let me just hit them right now. It's kind of experimental electronic kit. Alright, so we're not going to step sequence beats right now. If you're interested in step sequencing beats, I have a 6-part series which you can check out right here. Up to your top right corner there should be a little button to push. And like I said, that's a 6-part series where I go more in depth, but I really want to just show you how to start just recording a very basic loop as easily as possible. Now, in order to record a loop, there are a few things we really need to determine first. First of all, we need to determine, that was a bit of a tongue twister, the tempo of the track, because that's going to basically give us the speed at which the track runs. So the way I usually do this when I want to start a track is I'll sing a beat in my head. I'm a drummer by trade, so I usually start with beats. And say for instance I sing along a track like this. Boom boom cha chicka boom cha chicka boom boom cha chicka boom ba. The tempo would be like this. Boom boom cha chicka boom ba boom boom ba chicka boom ba. Now, in order to dial it in Ableton as we used to have to do it, like way back, we would have to sort of push play and just move around the BPM right here. That's basically this number right here is BPM, which is beats per minute, which represents the tempo. But there's a much easier way on Push especially, we have a button that's dedicated to tapping the tempo. So what I basically just clapped, boom, boom, ba, chicka, chicka, boom, ba, I basically have to tap in right here. So let me do it. Boom, boom, ta, chicka, chicka, boom, ba. And there you go, my metronome was already switched on. I can switch it off here and switch it back on. And now we have a reference point for the tempo, and we can start recording in a loop. Now the way it works with Ableton is in, like, as you can see up here, we're in 4/4, which means it's 4 quarters to the bar. So we count to 4, and then it basically we start counting over again. So we count the bar like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you listen carefully on the metronome, the 1 is a high note and the 2, 3, and 4 are low notes. Let me just push play right now. See? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's 1 bar. So you got the high note and the 3 low notes. So bip, 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 bip. And basically the way you have to do it is, let's just say this is the 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, whoops. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whenever you want to start recording, you have to hit the record button, which is this circle right here, which will turn red once we do start recording. You have to hit that somewhere on the 2, 3, and 4 in order for Ableton to start recording on the 1 of the next bar. So basically, let me just find a bass and a snare. Okay, I'm going to use this sound and this sound. I'm going to push play so we can start hearing the metronome. If you can't hear your metronome right now, push the metronome button and you're bound to hear it. So we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So once I hit the record button, Ableton's going to start recording on the 1 of the next bar. And then whilst I'm recording, whenever I'm in the bar that I want to sort of start looping at the end of that bar, that's when I have to hit the record button again. And then at the end of that bar, Ableton will start looping the beat. All right, so I'm going to do, just for fun's sake, I'm going to do a 2-bar loop. And in the second bar, you'll notice that I hit the record button once again in order to stop recording on the 1 of the next bar. All right, so here we go. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there we have it. We have our first loop. Now, if things are a bit wobbly like they are right here, and you've recorded in like 16th notes, if you just hit the quantize button right here, it'll shape things up nicely and things will start looping really, really solidly in time. So there we have it. We have our first drum beat, our drum loop. And what you can do from here is, as you can see, there we go, there's our beat. I can start recording over that and overdubbing. So what will happen is, I'll just look for a sound. Oh, here we go. Here's a hi-hat, which is a nice thing to put in with a bass and a snare. I've got my beat running right now. And all I have to do is I hit record and it's already recording because it's a 2-bar loop. And I can start really recording anytime. So let me just start going right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And I just switch off the record button now. And there I've got a very, very basic drum beat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quantize that again. There we go. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. That's how you record drums, and that's how the whole thing works. So the next thing in line is, well, first of all, actually, what we've done so far is I've shown you how to record a drum loop, the tap tempo button, the metronome button, and the record button. So keep that in mind because we're going to need some of this in the next part. All right, so the next thing we want to do is let's maybe record a bass line, a very, very simple bass line. And the way to do that is, as you can see right here, disregard the vocal, we have one track which is our drums. So I can rename that drums. Let me just push on Apple, the Apple key R, and now I'll just type in drums. And now I'm going to go onto the Ableton Push 2, click Add Track right here, go on MIDI track, which is already selected, and then I'm going to go to Sounds and Bass, and I'm just going to use another preset to keep things nice and simple. So I'm actually going to scroll this way now. Just find, that's a simple bass sound. I'm just going to load that in. So you push load, and now what's going to happen is, as you can see here, we have a second track, which is our bit growl bass. And you can see here, it's the same color as the track in the software. You can see it's blue right here. So what we're going to do right now is I'm just going to explain to you how the this whole matrix is set up for playing melodic and harmonic content. Now you can play a normal scale sorry, like this horizontally. Okay, so that's 1 octave, and we're in a major scale right now, which I'll show you how to change in a moment. So you can play it like this, but you can also play it vertically by going up in every 3 keys. So if I start on this, sorry, the other thing I should mention is the blue keys that you see represented here, they are all the root note of the whatever key I'm in. So right now I should be in C major. So every blue one is a C. So like I said, you can play it horizontally like this, but you can also move vertically every 3 keys. So it'd be like this. And there we have the octave again. So, you know, that's really nice, but you might say, you know what, I don't want to be in the key of C, and I don't want to be in a major key, I want to be in a minor key. And we have a button for that, and this is one of the other things that is really, really important to understand if you want to get into creating your own tracks using Ableton Push, and that's the scale button right here. So when I push scale, as you can see, the screen up here changes, and there are basically 2 sets of information that we can change. The buttons up here are the different keys you can play in. So you got C, G, D, A, E, B, and then the various flats down here. So say for instance I want to play in the key of D. I push this button, and now, okay, now I'm in the key of D, and all of these different keys here, or sorry, scales here, you can choose whatever one you like, and they all have their own sound. Now I'm going to keep it simple for right now. We're in the key of D major right now, but I want to go into minor. So I'm just going to move this down 1, and as you can see, minor is selected, and now listen. Okay, so now we're in the key of D minor. Another thing that you really need to understand is, as you can see, this is quite high up for a bass sound. That's what we have these 2 keys for here. Now this is going to move us up an octave and down an octave. So if you have a piano, if you're playing something here and you want to move down to these keys, you would push the down octave button, and if you're playing something on a piano like this and you want to play on these keys, you would push up an octave. So I'll just demonstrate. Right now we're here. I'm going to go up an octave, back to the original place, and now I'm going to go down an octave, which is more of a bass sound. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing we did before when we were recording the drums. All of the principles apply here in terms of when to push the record button in order to start recording on the one of the next bar, and to make sure to hit the record button to stop at the end of that given bar. And okay, so what I'll do is let me go out of scale mode by just pushing scale again, and what we're going to do is I'm just going to push play and listen to the drum beat, and experiment a little and see what kind of bass line I'm going to play. And it's going to be something very simple, just so we can keep moving quite quickly. Okay, so I still have my metronome going right now. I'm going to switch that off. Okay, let me just mess around a bit. Let me just do this. So I'm going to hit record. And there we go. We've got our bass loop set up. And I don't even really need to quantize it. It's just playing along there nicely. So now we have drums and bass. I'm going to just quickly rename this to bass to keep things nice and simple. So it's Apple key R and just type in bass. And that keeps it, if you look on here, we've got drums and bass, vocal. That's my vocal that I'm using right now. Just to keep things nice and organized. That's something you always want to do, especially the more complex your Ableton project gets. All right, so let's just add one more element. Let's just add a nice harmonic chord pad thing. So what I want to do is I'm going to push add track again. MIDI track, I'm going to stay with that. I'm going to go back down to sounds, and now I'm going to scroll down to pad, and let's see what we've got going on here. Okay, I like that sound. I'm just going to load it in right now. And as you can see again, the track color is green. Oops, there we go. And the pad color is green. So again, now we have a different sound. No, hold on one second. I just need to do this. All right, so now we have a different sound. We have our pad. And by default now, we're still, if we push scale, we're still in the same key and scale that we were in before, which is D minor, which is all good. All right, so I'm just going to basically play around and see what I can come up with for a pad sound and record it. So just see if you can follow along. Just turn it up a little here. Take it up an octave so we can hear it better. So I push the up octave. There we go, that's a little better. Okay, I'm just going to record this now. As you can see, this last thing that I recorded right here isn't very loud. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select them, and this is the actual velocity right here. I'm going to just bring that up to match these, and I can see here there's something that I hit by mistake. I'm just going to erase that, and I'll just play back again. That's just a nice little sketch we've got going on there. So as you can see, it's very, very simple to kind of get your ideas out and sketching out a track pretty much straight away. So let me just quickly go over what we've done it so far before we go into the last thing that you should really understand before kicking off with Ableton Push. So the first thing we did is, if I go back to drums, we have the drum kit here, right? We hit tap tempo to get into the tempo of the song, switched on the metronome, found the sounds that we wanted to use for the drum kit, hit record just before one of the next bar that we wanted to record in, played our thing in, and in the bar that we wanted to stop the loop in, we hit the record button again, and it stopped at the end of that bar, beginning on the beat one of the next bar. Sorry, that I know that sounded really complicated, but I think you gathered from what I just did what I mean. All right, so we recorded the drums, then we went to the bass. We loaded in a bass sound using the browse button right here, loaded it in there, we chose our scale and our key by pushing the scale button right here. We hit the key that we were in and chose the scale. Went back out of that. We recorded the bass, and then we basically did the same thing with the pad. So as you can see, we could keep doing this for as many tracks as our computer will allow us. You know, sometimes I've got like 16 tracks easily with all different kinds of sounds going at any given time, but this is the way I build them up over time. Okay, so now we're going to get into what I was speaking about earlier, and that is, once I hit this button next to note here, the session button, now you can see this has changed. So what does this mean? And what's that big red thing there? Well, if we take a look on screen right now, we have the drums here, and we have one slot, which is this one, and that is what our slot is on the screen on Ableton. And this is the bass clip basically that we recorded. This is the pad clip, and all of these red ones here signal that we could record our vocal, or my vocal right now. So just pretend that this isn't here. If you've set everything up without the vocal channel that I've set up here, this just won't be red, and you should have 3 different clips ready to trigger right here. And what you can do here is, just as when you're using Ableton, for someone who's used Ableton for a while, you'll know that if I go onto a clip right here and push the stop, and this is the stop button, but you can click any of these. If I click that, it basically stops this from playing when I push play globally. And you can see here, it's basically taken that out. And instead of pushing the stop button on my software, I can basically, these all represent a stop button because nothing is in these clip slots. So I can switch everything off right here. And what I can do is I can just start messing around with the different clips. So this is my pad that I recorded earlier. And then I might want to bring in the drums. So I'd push that now. And then it'll start on the 1. And that way I can nicely build up a track over time. So at the end of this loop, I'm just going to bring in the bass now. And as you can see, I've already started building a track really, really nicely. Now what we want to do is, we want to record this, obviously. So I'm going to switch those all off. Now, with the version I have running on here right now, I have to hit the record button right here in order to record into the arrangement. This is just something I recorded accidentally earlier. So that's what we're going to do right now, just to record something that's really, really basic. So what I'm going to do here is, if you click on this little arrow right here, you'll see I've got a 2-bar count in for when I record. And that's exactly what's going to happen right now. So I'm going to hit the record button. It's going to count 2 bars in. And in the second bar of the count in, I'm going to start firing off one of these clips. So it will actually start recording on the 1 of bar 1. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And as you can see right here, it's basically playing the clip of the pad and recording it into the arrangement view. This is my voice, don't worry, I'm just going to erase this in a moment. So let's wait to the next round. And now I'm going to bring in the drums by pushing this. Here we go. Now the pad is a 4-bar loop, or an 8-bar loop, sorry. Here we go with the bass. And there we go. We've got the beginning of a track in the making. Okay, so I can easily, if I hit this button up here, it's going to go back to arrangement mode, and I could play this if I like. I'm just going to raise my vocal right here. And now it's playing back. I won't play that back right now just to save some time. Now the other thing I wanted to show you finally, which is something that is very important and a definite part of the overall workflow in Ableton Push, is this button right up here in the top right hand corner is the mix button. So once I push that button, you can see right now, this is basically the same as what you see on screen. See on the screen right here, this is my vocal going up and down as I speak. And on screen right here, this is the same vocal going up and down as I speak. Don't worry about that right now. But what we have here, that's what's important. So what we want to do is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push play on all three of these tracks. And then the knobs up here, as of right now, because this is selected, they all represent the volume. So I can take the volume up and down, something I'd usually do on here if I was in working just purely in the software. I can now, as you can see, when I move this, it's moving this on screen like that. So yeah, first of all, I can play around with the volumes and kind of get nice level set. Let me just show you how that works. Hold on. They triggered independently. Let me just get this going again. Here we go. Okay, so in my headphones right now, the drums are a little loud, so I can take them down. For what I do is I go all the way down and start bringing them up and find a place where they sit nicely in the mix. Maybe I'll take the pads down a little, make the bass stand out a little more. So that's pretty simple stuff. But something else that's really, really nice is the button right next to volumes is the pans, and that basically pans stuff between speakers. So let me just demonstrate that with the drum beat. So this is now, before this was the volume, now it's the pan for the drums. And just to show you, this is all the way over to the left, and this is all the way over to the right. Now I hope that's recording. Should be, yeah, there we go. So we can basically do that with all of the tracks. Now I'm going to leave the drums in the middle, and I'm going to pan the pads over to the right a little and the bass over to the left a little, just to start creating some space. And that's basically it. That could, you can start creating tracks in no time now. Now, obviously, Push can do pretty much unlimited things. Like the way you can combine things and work things, there's just so many things to do. This really is just to get you started, up and running, using the presets in order to start creating your own songs. So, like I said before, we have, if you want to switch between the session mode, like this is the session mode, which represents what's on the screen. If I want to go back to playing stuff, I have to hit the note button again. Okay, so now, like I said before, this is your drum matrix, so to speak. Then we had the tap tempo. Remember to click in the tempo, basically like tick, 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 tick. You switch on the metronome using this button. You record using the circle here. You hit the record button in the bar before you want to record, and you hit, in order to stop recording, you have to hit the record button in the last bar of your loop. That gets you through that. And then in order to browse different sounds, first of all, you have to hit add track to add another track. So once you hit that, then you browse around using these buttons. You select, it says load here. You select whatever it is you want to select using this button. And yeah, that's what we did for these different tracks. This is how you switch in between tracks, which is important. And what else? Oh yeah, of course, we had the scale button. So if we're in bass, for instance, and I hit scale, then I can choose what key I'm in, C, D, G, whatever it is, and what scale I'm using, major, minor, and so on and so forth. We have the octaves up and down. That's really important to find the right key that you want to play in. And what else did we do? Oh yeah, of course, then we went to mix, and that is where you will find the volumes for everything, and then you up and down the volumes with this. And if you want to use pans, you basically click on this upper button right here, and that gives you the pans. So just with that knowledge, you should be able to build your very first track. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It may have been a little long, but I just wanted to get everything in one nice little lesson. So hopefully by the end of this, you kind of have a good basic understanding of how Ableton Push 2 works. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you hit like and subscribe, because there will be a lot more content coming soon, and not just beginners content, but also intermediate and advanced. And also make sure to check out my website, www.pushforlife.eu. All right, take care, and I shall see you all soon.